Hello, everyone. Welcome. The Force is with us.
Yes.
We are doing our first episode of our Star Wars special. You've got Jedi Zenger.
Padme Ellie.
And Sith Lord
Rob.
Awesome. Well, we've got all of us here to ask the important question that everyone's been wanting to know.
I'm excited. It's been like a month.
All right. So the important question is, what order do you watch the Star Wars movies in? Now, we are not definitively saying that there's a right or wrong way, but this is leading us into our year-long event to Star Wars. So there'll be more details about that at the end, but for now, the discussion begins.
There's no right or wrong answer, but only Siths deal in absolutes.
That is true. I think we should have a Star Wars
Quotathon.
quotathon. But I think we're going to start with one of the first methods. That one is the order which they were released in. So that would be episode 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, and then Rogue One. We are, by the way, quick spoiler warning, if you have not seen any of these, there will probably be some discussion on certain spoiler aspects, including Rogue One. So just giving you a warning ahead of time, there will be Rogue One as well as other spoilers in this. So that order, what do you guys think of the order in which the movie was released?
I like the order. That'd be my pick for the most part.
I mean, that's how I grew up on. That's the order I grew up on.
And that's how everyone grew up
Yeah.
on.
Especially someone that's never seen it.
Well,
Okay.
not necessarily everyone. I mean, people that are in their teens and
Yeah.
well, I guess
For I guess
yeah.
our generation.
Yes.
Our generation grew up watching them in this order.
Right.
So this a lot of people do agree with is one of the better orders because it's how we grew up watching it. So that's how we were introduced to it. It also keeps in certain spoilers too. Vader being their father, certain reveals of stuff.
Oh no, you just did a spoiler.
Okay, so I gave a spoiler warning. And
no, I'm just
besides,
kidding. If you don't know that, then
yeah. Besides, you guys are listening to a Star Wars podcast. I'm assuming that might be something you know. Also, the reveal of the Emperor. The Emperor is something that I don't think a lot of people do reference, is the fact that you don't see him during New Hope. So you get this illusion to who is this guy during that. So that kind of gets spoiled if you do it in another method, which we will bring up momentarily. So that is the release order. The next one we're going to bring up is numerical order. So that would be episode 1, 2, 3, Rogue One, which this is actually kind of chronological order
right.
too of how
yeah,
the
I was gonna
events
say.
transpire.
Right.
4, 5, 6, then 7. And of course, when it comes out, 8. And so
then
on.
9 and Han Solo movie or
Wherever that's going to fit in.
right, if we're even putting that in the order.
So what do we think of the order of events or
Well, I
numerical
think
order?
they're missing the Ewok movie and the Christmas special.
We do not speak of those.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
So I think with this order, it ruins the reveal of Vader being the father in this order. And I think that that's a big twist. It also, it contradicts the way I grew up watching these movies. So that's why I'm not a super fan of this one per se.
But I do have an interjection for that.
Okay.
I feel like this order is good for certain types of people, though.
Okay.
Namely children that are really young.
Okay.
So, if they're 10 to teens, whatever, then different orders would be fine. But I think if they're, 4 or 5, that kind of thing, I don't see a problem in them doing it in this order because they're children and they're not necessarily going to grasp all of the like, oh my gosh, it's this person and it's that person. So I think for children that young, I don't see the problem in doing the order of the story in that aspect.
All right. Rob, do you have any, you kind of gave some input on this already?
I mean, quality-wise, 4, 5, and 6. I mean, I'm not knocking the prequels. I'm just saying most people agree the original trilogy is the stronger. if you're going to take someone that's never seen Star Wars, you don't want to start out with the weak ones. Start out with the good ones, get them hooked, and once they're fascinated with the story, then
Continue.
Then they can go back and watch how it happened, and if the movies are not quite as strong, at least they're already invested in the characters and the world.
Well, I'll say this. I have a chip on my shoulder for the prequel trilogy. I have started to change my opinion of them because in the great words of Obi-Wan during Return of the Jedi, he said those events were true from a certain point of view. With that being said, that kind of makes me, stuff doesn't match up from the prequels to the original. Stuff doesn't match up from Rogue One to the original. It's just, if we're trying to connect all the dots, some dots will kind of trail off. So that's kind of where it gets me on. There's certain things that I always had different in my sort of imagination of the prequel trilogy. So when it came out, it kind of ruined my idea of what it was. So that's why I guess I have a little bit, but we're going to all watch these with a clear conscience and everything when we finally get to that. So, I mean, I'll probably voice my opinion a little bit more per episode, but with one of them being very distinctly one that I will try my best to play nice with. So we will move on to another one, which I had looked all these up online, and some of them were voiced by our fans and other podcasters. We'll get to those in a minute, but the other one was 4, 5, 6, and skip the rest. So just the original trilogy.
Hey, that's the way my parents watched it.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing. That was the way it was for so many years. So, and that way you don't have to, you can keep your little imagination like I have of the prequels or, what happens afterwards. And just watch them as this was the trilogy that, everyone grew up on and everyone loved for the longest time.
And what about, I know another one you looked up was the Machete Order.
That was the one I was getting to last. Because this one I feel is the most interesting one of the bunch. Because it does do a good mixture of everything.
You watch Machete in the middle of the Star Wars movies.
just right in the middle of it.
Just confuse
and
the
then right
crap out
before
of
you watch
somebody.
Return, you watch Machete Kills.
So with that method, and there are, I think, 2 different ways to do this, plus a third one, which I'll bring up in a little bit. Machete method goes 4, 5, 2, 3, and then 6, 7.
Oh, what happened to 1?
Well, there is another method where you insert 1 in there.
Oh, okay.
So it would be 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7.
Right.
And someone does bring this up later. I'm just going to bring it up now, though. They said that 2 does a good enough job of that 1 doesn't need to really be there for certain aspects of the story.
Once again, I disagree. When it comes to younger children.
With the method?
They need the 1.
Okay, I was about to say with this order or with...
Oh, no.
Okay.
I don't agree with that order, but I'm just saying we can't leave out 1. I know it's not the best movie in the world, but I think it's important for children.
I think there's going to be a different discussion on that in future months.
Yes.
But I really like this order because it gives... I think this order is having your cake and eating it too. Hold on. Okay. No. By doing this order, you get to watch the original trilogy. You get the reveal of Vader being their father. You get the flashback then to how he became Darth Vader. So you get a child watching this for the first time would probably better understand it in this regards, in my opinion, because then you get the story behind him being their father. The only thing that I don't like about this method is just one tiny little detail is it proves that he's their father. It's not did he trick him? Did he not? Because that's something that everyone had that question of in the back of their mind, I'm sure, when the first time they watched Empire.
I'm not too big on the machete method, mostly just because it seems like there's too long of a gap in between Empire and Returns. When I used to watch Star Wars as a kid, I could never watch Empire without watching Return immediately after, and 2 movies is a little too much. 3 movies, with one of them being Episode 1, is just it's a pretty big gap between Empire and Return.
I like this method. There's a different version of this method that we'll bring up in a minute that I actually like even more personally. So, I mean, it kind of complicates it with where do you put Rogue One, though. With Rogue One being a new movie in this whole scenario, do you start with Rogue One then?
Well, since it's not one of the episodes, it really kind of throws us off in a way. And
I mean, I'm including it in this discussion for that reason because I feel it.
But it does make the whole order of how to watch them way more complicated.
Because, I mean, if you start somebody who's never seen it on Rogue One first, I think you can watch Rogue One on its own. I think it is possible, but I don't think you're going to get the same thing out of it as if you know the story either leading up to that point or after that point.
Nah, probably not.
Because it's going to throw people off then because it's such a departure from the Star Wars story to an extent that they're going to be very confused once they get into episode 4, seeing all. I mean, at the beginning, they'll be right on board because they'll be like, oh, this is the ship that escaped at the end. You know, this is, continuing what happened on that battle.
But it's also really cool if you know the final result of what they're doing. It makes what they're doing that much more epic in the movie.
Well, I think there's a solution for that from one of our other podcasters that I'll get to when we get to the other podcasters that have commented on this. One of the other methods, and this one is purely for fun, after doing some research, I have kind of cataloged
for fun if you are really, really bored.
If you are off of work on sick leave for a month or two, this might be the best way to watch Star Wars. And this is the quote-unquote complete how it happened way. Ellie, if you would, and mind you, I probably missed a few things.
All right. Are you ready?
All right.
1, 2.
Episode 1.
Yes, 2.
Episode 2.
Clone Wars TV show and some comics. 3. Rebels TV show, some more comics, and a book maybe. Rogue One. 4. You guessed it, some more comics. 5, maybe more comics. 6, some books, and more comics. 7.
If you're going to go that far, you might as well just throw in the Ewok movie and
the Christmas special.
And maybe like the anti-smoking commercial with C-3PO and R2-D2.
Yes.
Like I said, there's probably a few more books and stuff that
and a few more comics.
Yes, but they've been trying to flesh out the universe a lot more. So I just wanted to include that in there. That is not the method we're doing for this.
Oh my goodness.
So I just wanted to throw that one out there. I'm sure I missed some stuff, but that's just a fun, if you wanted every little part filled in, there it is. And we are talking about the current canon of it. There's, of course, the Legends that's still out there that was created prior to Disney's acquirement of Star Wars that...
I mean, they also might as well throw in, like, the video games, too.
Well, those aren't canon anymore now, apparently.
Oh.
Yeah, Shadows of the Empire, Force Unleashed.
Unleashed, that's the one I was thinking
no longer
of.
canon now.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
It is. Moving on, though, we're going to get to some comments from our other podcasters. I reached out to a few of our podcasters directly and asked them what their opinions were on how to watch the Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with...
Crossover U. They like the machete way, which is, just to remind you guys, 4, 5, 2, 3, 6, 7. Since 2, 3 will serve as a flashback to Vader to cover the gap between 5 and 6.
And of course, this one is one that doesn't admit episode 1 because
yes.
There's enough recap, they said, in 2 to cover that. So,
right.
Like I said, not right, not wrong. We're not pointing that out for these ones. So the next one we're going to do is...
I can't do it.
Nerd Talkocalypse
Thank
podcast.
You. I cannot say that.
Their vote is for the machete method. I'm assuming they're including episode 1 in that. They did not specify. They just said the machete method.
Okay.
So we are also going to give a shout out because I was recently on the occasional show to discuss a crossover Yes, the DC crossover event with The Flash, Arrow, Supergirl, and Legends of Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So after I was on that, I reached out to them to do a little bit of another crossover here with asking them their opinion. And he gave a very interesting answer.
Cool, what did
So
he
this
say?
was Sean gave me this answer from the occasional show. Gave me this answer. For me, when I introduce my kids to it, we watch it 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. So the order in which they were released. I suppose now I'll probably have my youngest watch it 1, 2, 3, though I'll cut out the end of 3 to save the surprise from him. So he will have him watch part of 3 and cut out the part where Anakin does actually become Vader.
Okay.
Which is interesting. Which is an interesting method that we did not mention earlier.
No.
So then you'd watch Rogue One, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm assuming after you watch 5, then you'll watch the end of 3, revealing that that's how Anakin became Vader. So I think that's an interesting method, if I do say so myself. So thank you, Sean, for that input.
Yeah,
That
I actually like that, like kind of what I said earlier about, the way I would do it with the young kids.
So
I
it's-
kind of like his
It's
edit.
definitely different.
Yeah.
It is, and it's a very interesting way to watch it that I would have never thought of to break the movie up like that. But it gives us a good place to put Rogue One to where
So
a
I
kid
guess,
would
like,
understand it
In
then.
theory, you'd probably just stop the movie right about the point Anakin tells Mace Windu about the Emperor.
I don't know. That's a good question on exactly where. Because I say you could stop it earlier
or maybe
on.
stop it at the opera scene, or well, they call it the opera scene. There's no opera, but
Yeah.
when they're sitting and watching the
Water
whatever the heck is
thing.
going
Yeah.
on,
The water game from Final Fantasy X.
the Darth Plagueis story.
So that's an interesting. Thank you
I like
once
that.
again.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah. Thank you once again for that one there, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
For the unbelievers, I reached out to the Unbelievable podcast, and their response was
I'd watch them in numerical order, probably.
exclamation point.
Exclamation
So
point.
there you go, unbelievers. That's how the Unbelievable podcast would watch it. Now we are also going to discuss. I'm saving. There's one last one after this, and then we're going to get into some tweets and some Facebook messages we got as well.
Okay.
But these are the ones I personally reached out to. I reached out to Secret Transmission.
Yeah.
So as a fun game, after we tell them that, we're going to play a little interesting game
Ooh, games.
that deals with their podcast.
Okay.
So the Secret Transmission podcast said 4, 5, 6, then 1, 2, 3, Force Awakens, and Rogue. So release order is what they have said. Now, here's the fun game. They deal in the paranormal and supernatural stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anyone's familiar with this, the Mandela effect.
Yes.
Just to explain to people who are listening who might not know about this.
Right.
The Mandela effect is basically saying that either our memories are not serving us correctly, or there's a parallel Earth that's merged with this one. Because a lot of people thought Nelson Mandela died in jail in the 80s.
I like the second option.
But then come to find out he didn't. But everyone remembers like newscasts and stuff of him dying in the 80s in jail. But we all remember that he didn't. So that's where
And
this
if you look into that, you can probably find more examples too, because I'm thinking of a few.
Berenstain Bears.
That's a little far-fetched.
There's also a big one right now where there's the fact that Sinbad was in a genie movie in the 90s called Kazam. So that one's an interesting one. He claims he has no idea what everyone's talking about, but that one's been a big one on Reddit. Anyways, there are 2 Mandela effects that I know of off the top of my head that they talked about in their podcast.
Related to Star Wars?
Yes.
Yes.
The first one has to do with a very interesting line in episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. And that line is, now you two, I know the answer, but you two are going to have to guess. Is the line, Luke, I am your father, or no, I am your father?
No, I am your father.
See, and I'm sure that's right, but I remember it as Luke, I am your father. That's
So-
how I remember it.
So you remember it that way, but
Right.
you're saying you don't feel that's right.
It
And Rob, your answer was,
No, I am your
Yeah, he
father.
said no.
all right.
That's
I'm not going to give the answer on here because I implore everyone to go over to the Secret Transmissions podcast and listen to their episode.
Well, isn't like also doesn't if you watch Star Trek, doesn't Captain Kirk or whoever never actually say "Beam me up, Scotty," but everyone remembers the line?
That's another one, but we're talking about Star Wars now.
Yeah.
Boo! Don't talk about Star Trek.
I just
So,
entered the real dark side.
so the other Mandela effect is this. In episode 4, New Hope, C-3PO is all gold, or does he have a silver leg?
I'm going with silver leg just because I think the all gold is an obvious answer.
I feel like I remember him with a silver leg at some point, but it also could have been a special edition change. Who knows?
So, once again, I'm not going to give the direct answer. Go over to the Secret Transmissions podcast. They have an entire episode on more Mandela effects that will make you question everything you know. So, find out. Give them your answer. See if you guessed correctly. So, that was Secret Transmissions input. So, thanks to them over there. Definitely check them out. They've been a big help to us recently, so I just wanted to give them a huge shout out and thank you. And the Mandela effect is always something fun to discuss.
It is interesting.
It's a cool party trick because it's one of those things that I feel it kind of affected everyone has something to where they're like, no, I don't remember it that way. Mm-hmm. So definitely interesting stuff.
Yeah.
But now we're going to move on to the Down the Hall podcast, and these guys are definitely a great two guys. They actually did a episode on the Pixar theory, which don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It is the theory that all Pixar movies are connected.
In the same universe, I
Yes,
guess.
all take place in the same universe, but at different times.
Okay.
So they did the theory on that. Mm-hmm. They had the guy who came up with the theory come on their podcast.
That is really cool.
Because he heard about it. So that's definitely awesome that they were
Yeah.
able to do that. But I reached out to them, and the one I got a response from was, and Chet responded to me with,
They said, he said 4,
okay,
Rogue One,
interesting.
5, 1, 2, 3, 6, and then 7.
All right. He also then went on to say,
Actually, I kind of like that better than the machete effect or the machete method. Anyway,
Yeah.
he went on to say, Rogue One after A New Hope because it provides context and is more appreciated after seeing A New Hope.
Yeah.
So you watch A New Hope, you go, hey, here's how they got those plans. You don't have that weird thing if someone's never seen it of, wait, who's Vader? Who are these people?
Right.
You get the establishment, and then you get a kind of flashback to this is what happened to lead to this event. So he continues on then, because of course we got the machete part in there with the
Right.
5, then new trilogy, then 6,
Right.
or sorry, prequel trilogy, then 6. Then at the end of Empire, we see Vader reveal himself to be Anakin. So that is when you go to the prequels to see Anakin's story. At the end of Revenge of the Sith, he is wearing black and saying things like, don't underestimate my power. And at the open of Return of the Jedi, Luke does both of those things. Also using Force Choke on Jabba's guards at the palace, which is a Sith move. Watching the prequels after Empire but before Return of the Jedi makes Luke's internal struggle more real and emphasizes the threat of him turning.
Yeah. That's really
I
interesting.
think
I like that.
someone might have looked into it too far. I never really thought of the Force Choke as a Sith move. I
But-
just kind of thought it was like a great introduction to Luke in Return.
But I think that it's a cool
He
way.
shows up, he means business, and you know he's not like... He's a little bit stronger than he was in Empire.
Yeah, but would you really say that the Force Choke it would be a Jedi
No.
move? No, not at all.
Well,
I think the fans put more thought into this than Lucas did.
Well, no, I mean, I like this method because it does. Not only do you see Anakin struggle, but then you pick up with Luke's struggle. Like I said, this would, if he had just sent me just the order, it would have been like cool way to watch it. But the fact that he also inputted
Yeah, I
with
like
the
it.
reasoning for it, it makes it more apparent then to me that that's interesting because I never thought of the effect of Luke, seeing Luke doing this stuff. It was always, the machete method makes it so you can see Vader's story. You don't only see Vader's transition. but you see a possible transition from Luke too, because
Yeah, the like father, like son kind of thing.
bingo.
Yeah.
So those are all the ones from our friends that I reached out to directly, podcast wise.
Yeah, thanks guys so much.
Thank you guys. I'll have links to all their Twitter accounts down in the description. So if you want to take a look at any of their stuff, everyone stuff will be down in the description. So now we're moving on to our Twitter.
Yay!
Where I asked people on Twitter, and we got amazing feedback from tons of people. Once again, if you hear anyone that you're more interested in seeing stuff about, I'll have everyone's at so-and-so down in the description. So if you hear any, definitely take a look. So
Yeah.
I will be reading them as I get... do you think I should read the names or the at things? Because either one would be great for some of these.
I know, right? It won't take long. Just do both.
Both? Oh, man,
Sure.
you're... Okay, first one from Twitter is a Beardo Talks film at Captain Beard 93.
I love it.
Captain Beard 93. He says, from A New Hope onward, the prequels are completely ignored. So there's that one.
Yep.
We're moving on to TCR podcast at Tipsy Review.
Sounds promising.
It does. They said, from best to worst, episodes 4 through 6, always in that order and back to back. Then The Force Awakens, maybe episodes 1 through 3 in whatever order. So not a fan of the prequels from the sound of that.
Right.
Which, like I said, no wrong answers here,
Nope.
people.
Nope.
Only Sith stealing absolute.
I was the Boondoggle at Boondoggle Cast.
Yes.
They said episode 1, oh man, excited. The old school animated Clone Wars.
Oh, yeah, you love
I
that.
loved the old school animated Clone Wars that they
Yes.
did on Cartoon Network. And those were canon until the new one came out. If you don't know what those are, look them up. They're phenomenal. They were done by the people who did Dexter's Laboratory. They did an amazing job on them.
Dexter's
And,
Laboratory.
and a lot of them didn't have much talking in them. It was more action. So it was
right.
really cool to see that. So then you watch episode 2, 3, sigh, it's over. So you're done with the prequels. Then you watch 4, 5, 6, and then don't blink, 7.
Nice.
So that was from the Boondoggles and at Boondoggle Cast. So now we move on to Mary Henderson, and that's at MaryHen40319760. And their response was, in order if you must, if you've seen the first one, you're good. The second one, okay. After that, you're obsessed. LOL.
Laugh out loud.
So the next one is more gooder than at MGT Podcast. And they said original trilogy, Clone Wars. I'm assuming the current or the
Right.
more recent TV series. Episode 3, Rebels. Episode 3, Rebels. Rogue One,
The Force Awakens.
The Force Awakens. The main thing, don't want to ever spoil the Empire Strikes Back reveal. So that's an interesting order. Mm-hmm. They kind of eliminated episode 2 and 1 in that. So now we move on to Super Movie Bros at Super Movie Pod. And they said this order, exclamation point, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7. That way the prequels work as a flashback after Vader is revealed. Still like Rogue One as a standalone.
Okay.
So I guess you just watch Rogue One just at some point.
Are they saying to watch that after you've watched all the others, I guess?
I think they're just
or
saying it's a
you
good
can watch it
standalone.
whenever?
It stands on its own, so I guess watch it after the other stuff is sort of a, oh, hey, if you want more information, check this out.
Okay.
So now we go to the Epic Film Guys at Epic Film Guys. And they said Rogue One, A New Hope, Empire, Phantom Menace, Clone Wars, Attack the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, the part of Jedi that is actually important, parentheses, not Ewoks, then The Force Awakens. So apparently we do have another one where you have to watch only certain parts of the movie. So just watch Jedi.
People who have problems with Ewoks, I don't always get it.
So apparently not Ewok fans there. And then Darth Grumpy at
That's cute.
the Angry Sith says, the way they were released, maybe put Rogue One first, but if I was starting fresh, I'd say by release. So that would be the, of course, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. And then Movie Source Rex
I
at
love that name.
M Rex Podcast says, episodes 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, Rogue One, 6, and then 7, of course. Smiley face with a tongue out, thumbs up.
Nice.
I read emojis.
I'm so proud of you.
I am too. So now we get to our last one from Twitter, which is Podcast with No Aim at Podcast No Aim. Says, watch A New Hope and Empire, assume the story ends there, and let your mind fill in the blanks. Vader's backstory was so interesting for me. So, definitely interesting. Definitely a lot of different ways to watch it that a lot of people have said. It seems like the machete method was a little bit popular, though.
It was.
I've never thought about it before, but
So we're finally going to move to the Facebook, where we had some comments on where we put it up on Facebook as well. And Ellie, if you would like to read those.
I would love to. We've got Timothy 4512367. So once again, pretty popular. That option is pretty popular. And then we have Travis. He put 1, 2, 3, Rogue One, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. And then we also have Brad. He put Classic, 4, 5, and 6. And then I don't acknowledge the rest.
So I'm assuming he also means by classic the non-special edition versions.
Right, exactly. That's what I would take it as.
Interesting.
And then we have Tim
With 2 M's.
with 2 M's. And we've got 111, 111, 11111, etc.
I don't know
someone
if
can't get enough pod racing.
I was going to say, I hope he's speaking in binary.
And then we have Vasilios, Rogue One, 4, 5, and 6.
So, definitely a very wide opinions on a lot of these things. I really enjoyed everybody's, feedback and everything. Anyone who posted on Twitter, like I said, I will have it in the description. You're at so-and-so. So anyone who wants to look up more on those can definitely find it. So we thank you all for your feedback and helping us out with this first episode of our Star Wars adventure. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, what is our opinion and where is all this going? Well, I guess we're going to get into our opinions first. So, Rob, you've been chomping at the bit to let loose. So, may the Force be with you.
All right, so my thoughts. Believe it or not, there are people who haven't seen Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
It is
Shocker.
Very sad. But if you're taking someone who's never seen Star Wars, the way to do it, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, Rogue One. The way it was released, that way you can get them hooked with the movies that made the series great, and as they learn to love the characters and love the world, then they can go back and see more of it with the more mixed reaction films, and then you end strong on Rogue One. Now, I will admit, I already know Vader's Luke's father.
What?
I've only seen the movies a trillion times. So when I watch it by myself, I do usually do 1, 2, 3, Rogue One, 4, 5, 6, 7. I like the chronological order side of that. At the same time, it's also good to watch the prequels first and get them out of the way. That way you have the later ones to look forward to. If I watch like 4, 5, and 6 first, I'm going to get lazy and usually not make it to the prequels. Last thing I'm going to say, if you have someone that's never seen them, try to get the original New Hope and original Return. I don't like Jabba the Hutt being in A New Hope.
I have more to say on that, but I'll save that for when we discuss episode 4 of The New Hope. I
Get ready for a rant, because you got a lot to look forward to.
should be fun. All right, Ellie, you can...
Well, like I said, I like the 1, 2, 3. Now I would put in Rogue One. Mm-hmm. And then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The continuation. But I really do like the one idea of where they said they took out the end of the
That is interesting.
the third movie. So I think for children and for other people, maybe somebody that's not as big into this genre, I think it's something that it might be easier for the general public, not just people that are really into this style of movie.
Okay,
So I really do like that one. Yeah.
So for me, if I were watching them on my own, I'd probably now start with Rogue One.
Okay.
And then do the machete method, I guess, in that order. 'Cause I've really grown...
So would you keep one or not keep one?
Well, hold on.
Okay.
I'll get there. I really have grown to like that method because, the way it was put forth by a few people. And, the more I think about it, the more it gets the best of both worlds. But if I'm introducing it to somebody for the first time, I think the Down the Hall podcast had a great point, and I'm going to I'm not trying to show favorites here, but I'm kind of siding with them on that one because I really enjoyed the whole watch episode 4, then go back and watch Rogue One for somebody who's never seen it. That way they get both of those, and you're not sort of randomly throwing Rogue One in. And then you watch, of course, you do 4, Rogue One, Empire, then 1, 2, 3, and then, of course, 6, 7, and then afterwards 8. So I think that's very interesting to do it that way. And I'm kind of a fan of that one if you're showing it to somebody the first time. If it's me watching it, I kind of would like to start with Rogue One now to begin with. Now, I'm sure you're wondering what exactly our Star Wars celebration will be like from here on out. Well, we have decided, discussing it amongst ourselves, and because there is a certain limitation of one of the movies is not currently available freely for us to obtain and watch a few times to get a good synopsis of it, we are going to go through the entire saga of Star Wars, episode by episode, discussing it as we go through. We are also going to include some of the expanded universe in the sense of TV shows and comics
to
as
break
well.
up the movies a
Yes.
little bit. Yeah.
So the order in which that will go in is...
February, we're going to do episode 1. March, episode 2. April
will... We're trying to decide if we want to do Clone Wars TV series then, or cover some of the comic stuff then. So we're still trying to decide what that one is, but that one will be one of the ones to break up stuff. We will probably be focusing on the Clone Wars, though.
Right.
Moving on from there.
Episode 3 for May. June will be Rogue One. July, episode 4. August, episode 5. September, episode 6.
And then October, we'll either cover the Rebels series. It all depends on what we do. We want to cover some of what's still in canon, and maybe have a fun chat about what used to be canon too.
Yeah.
So that's the
definitely.
thing. These extra episodes we've thrown in there are kind of, just us to, sort of talk about stuff with not being restrained by the movie we are currently discussing.
Right.
And then finally in November,
We're going to do episode 7.
which will of course lead into episode 8, should be out in December. So we'll do what we can to hopefully get something out in December with us discussing it. No promises on that, but we'll see what we can do for that. So those will be out mid-month. And like I said, the reason we did in this order, it's not, as we all discussed, I think the only one that this order favors is Ellie. But
I think that we should do it in this order because it'll just be easier for people to follow if we just do it in,
And I would love to do it in the order where we could start with Rogue One, but the huge complication with that is we have all seen Rogue One, but we would probably like to watch it a few more times. We're going to discuss it in depth. So there's no way for us to...
I'd rather just buy it instead of having to keep paying to go see the movie in the
Exactly.
theater.
So there is a time crunch on that. So we
Yes.
have to wait for that to be out. So this order does favor that. So with that, we'd love to hear your guys' feedback. You know, everybody, thank you. Thank you so much for the help from the other podcasts.
It's so fun.
From everyone involved so far. We appreciate it. This is going to, we are so excited about this. Just as a point out for releases of this stuff, they'll probably be out middle of the month. This will not interfere with the Monday podcast. We will still put out the Monday ones. These are sort of extra things every month that we will be doing.
Just to celebrate Star Wars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To celebrate a lead up to episode 8.
So as much as it pains some people, if you can take the time to maybe watch episode 1 a few times, we would love any kind of comments or maybe your favorite or your least favorite parts of the movie, you know, leading into the next discussion.
All right, so of course we got to plug ourselves at the end. Of course, how to find us, best ways to get a hold of us, since we've now told you guys to get a hold of us.
Yes, please.
The best ways to listen to us, though, are on SoundCloud,
Zing This.
on iTunes.
Zing This.
You can also find us on Facebook, Zeng This. You can also find us on Twitter.
At Zing This.
You can also find us on Instagram at Zeng This Podcast, where we put out some cool little collages and stuff of upcoming episodes, and we'll try to do some special Star Wars stuff too. So yay!
Did you just make your spooky voice for a minute there?
I kind of did.
Okay, I was just curious.
Don't know why.
Okay.
Finally, you can get a hold of us on Patreon as well if you want to help support the show. Patreon.com/Zingness, and if you want to email us directly, zingness@gmail.com.
Yes.
So of course you've had me, Jedi Master Zenger.
Me, Padme Ellie.
And me, Sith Lord Rob.
And we thank you guys for listening to this. So join us next month in February for episode 1, The Phantom Menace. DJ Golden Boy, play us out.
Woo!
We look forward to next month where we'll be discussing episode 1, The Phantom Zinger.
Nice.
It'll be what we call pod racing.
Do you think Phantom Zing works better?
Let us know.
Yes.
We said doing podcasts next month.
No.